tested. We bringing all the answers you requested. You guessed it, it's Unrested. Teaching street Japanese, that's Unrested. Unrested.
Tattoos in Japan. If I got paid for every time someone asked me about tattoos in Japan, I would be a very rich man from my YouTube account. This is the third and final part of a series that I've done on tattoos in Japan. If you didn't catch the other part, please watch it. It's an interview with a very well-known Gaijin tattoo artist here in Osaka, the one and only Gaijin tattoo artist here in Osaka. And he goes highly in depth with history, symbolism, and everything else you could possibly want to know about tattoos. So this final part, I'm not going to talk anything about history or symbolism. I worked with a couple other J-vloggers on making pretty much a response video to how do people in Japan react to Gaijin who have tattoos. Number one, we're already kind of outcast, let's be honest. I mean, we're totally different from everyone else. You're gonna get stared at non-stop. If you're a white guy, especially you got blue eyes, if you got blonde hair, you're gonna get stared at. There's just no way around it. Now, if you're a guy with tattoos, a big, tall, pale, white guy with tattoos, guess what? That just doubled how much you're gonna get stared at. Even Victor, when I was hanging out with him, Give Me a Flake Man, when he visited, he even stopped at one point when we were walking into a restaurant called Bikudi Donkey, and he said, "Man, did you see how much people stare at you?" And I guess at this point I had just gotten so used to it, I just was, oh yeah, I guess that was my response. And I really started to take notice after he said that God, people stare non-stop. Okay, the funniest thing is little kids who usually ask their moms, I can hear them asking them in Japanese, why did he write on his arm? Why did he draw on his arm? Why does he have all that scary stuff on his arm? And it's cute. I mean, I love little kids, so, you know, no blame there. They don't know what's going on. It's okay. But to be honest, I mean, I've gotten stared at non-stop. I've had people take my picture without even asking me. All kinds of different stuff because of my tattoos.
Hey YouTube, I'm ire-zumi, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal experiences on having tattoos and living in Japan.
Alright, so this is Samurai Fingers and I'm here in Osaka, and I wanted to tell you my versions or my experiences of being a tattooed foreigner in Japan.
So, let's talk about reaction stories. What kind of reactions have I had from being a tattooed Gaijin in Japan? Well, I'd say my very first encounter wasn't really a good one. I had to go to a restaurant with my friends, and before I could enter the restaurant, they actually had a jacket. It was just like a nice sports coat, and they asked me to put it on before I went in because they didn't want my tattoos to be showing in the restaurant. Now, this restaurant wasn't anything high scale. Okay, this was like a chain restaurant where, you know, nobody famous comes. It's not ritzy. It's not expensive dishes. I mean, the dishes average about, you know, sennen, which is about $10. So they just had a policy where no one was supposed to have tattoos in their restaurant.
Reaction thus far has been really good. My Japanese friends seem to like it, seem to think it's really cool. Honestly, the biggest reactions and problems that I've got are actually from other foreigners. They like freak out, like, oh my god, that's such a huge tattoo. You know, you're never going to be able to go to Sento if you got a big tattoo. Did you know that you can't get into onsen if you got a big tattoo? So yeah, my biggest problems have been with other foreigners freaking out about my tattoo.
For the most part, my experiences have been pretty good. Just last week, I had an incident. I was in an area of Tokyo and I was walking along and this lady came up behind me and she was fairly old, maybe 50s or 60s, and she came up and she just poked me in the back of the arm and like mumbled something really quickly, and what she said, in Japanese of course, she said, "That's beautiful." My spoken Japanese is still very poor, and the word kind of resembles a word for don't like, and in my state of mind I automatically assumed that she was saying something negative, but I was still polite and I just smiled. And but I later found out that she had said that it was beautiful, and that really surprised me. So it shows that there are even older people in Japan, of course, that do have an interest in tattoos, and even if they're not tattooed themselves, can still see them as a beautiful form of artwork.
Japanese people thus far haven't been giving me any problems with it. Like, you know, it's 2009. Yeah, tattoos have some connotation with, you know, rough people and dirty people or yakuza or gangs, but it's 2009. I think they're really opening up more and realizing that it's a fashion statement, it's a personal statement, it's something that I've done to express myself, and most people are pretty cool with it. They're not going to give you any trouble. It would be really rude to say anything to you, really. That's the other thing, the cool thing about Japanese society. One interesting story I will relay. Take it for what you will. I've got a little laundry cleaning service in my neighborhood, a dry cleaner, sorry. I'm shaking actually, there's big trucks and some wind on the overpass. Anyway, the dry cleaners in my neighborhood, I always go and I talk with them as I'm dropping off my dry cleaning and stuff. Always in Japanese, they're always really friendly. You know, I talk about whatever, their kids and school and just stuff that's going on in Osaka, stuff that's going on in the neighborhood, community events, that kind of thing. And it's always been really friendly, and they always speak Osaka Ben with me, which is really cool. I really enjoy speaking Osaka Ben, and they, you know, they get a hoot out of talking to me, and I enjoy talking to them. It's good practice for me. But anyway, so before the tattoo, we would always do this. After the tattoo now, every time I go in, it's always fully polite Japanese, and when I'm done, they always bow. Like, thank you for visiting our establishment, and they bow. And it's not just like a little head nod, it's like right down. And I'm like, what? These are like old Japanese people, like I should be bowing to them, like they're, you know, senior citizens, right? So they deserve more respect than I do. But yeah, they bow to me and I'm just like, what? So take it for what it is. I don't know if it's got to do with the tattoo or not, like if they're worried or concerned that maybe I'm part of the Yakuza, I don't know. But it is kind of a funny story. And yeah, that's it. I really enjoy having a tattoo. I really enjoy the expression. One other thing. Old ladies won't sit next to me on the train anymore. Actually, no, they never sat next to me on the train. And young women will maybe or maybe not sit next to me, but again, that's nothing really new. Just being a foreigner in Japan is weird enough. People don't want to sit next to you on the plane, on the train, or the bus for that matter. But it's cool. Anyway, this is Samurai Fingers, and you've been watching Unrested.
An interesting thing was my wife's parents. My wife is Japanese, and before we got married, I had always worn long sleeves, and so they didn't know I had tattoos, because I didn't know how they take it and whatnot. So when we went for dinner, like this tattoo, it goes very low onto my wrist, so even if I'm wearing long sleeves, it's still visible if I stick my arm out to grab like a plate or something. And so I would eat very awkwardly, trying to like eat yakiniku put into like some lettuce with miso, and I'd be trying to fold it with my right hand and eating it so I wouldn't have to show them. And it was kind of silly, but she eventually told them before we were married, and I wasn't there at the time. They've never mentioned it to me, and her mother was okay with it. She's like, he's a foreigner and they have different culture and stuff like that, and so she was okay with it, and she's basically like, young men these days, they do stuff like that. And her father didn't like it though. He wasn't happy that I had tattoos, but he seemed to let it slide or whatever. We get along great. I'm still respectful of it because I know they don't like it, so I just wear long sleeves when I'm there, and they never ask me about it, and we have a great relationship.
I had another friend, his name was John, and he went to Disney Sea. They have Disney Sea here. It's kind of like a mix between SeaWorld and Disney. And he found out that you cannot have tattoos in Disney World here. Yes. If you go to Disney Sea or Disneyland, you cannot have tattoos. They will actually give you a sweatshirt to wear over your tattoos. So you're going to a public amusement park that you're paying for, and you can't even be yourself, which personally I find absolutely intolerable. I come from Florida, as some of you might know, and Disney World there would never ask me to put on a sweatshirt to cover up my tattoos, and that's Disney World, not Disneyland, okay? So I find that to be highly discriminatory, if you ask me. I mean, I think that's just bigoted. I'm going to be honest with you there. So they asked my friend to wear a sweatshirt over his tattoos. He has full sleeves. And they actually wanted him to give it back when he left, but he just left with the sweatshirt. He thought, well, you know, if they're going to make me wear this, then I get to keep it. And I fully agree with him 100% on that. That's pretty much ridiculous.
I walk down the street like this all the time, and I don't have people that are shocked or scared. But you have to take into account that I do live in Tokyo, where 300,000, I believe, foreigners live, and quite a few foreigners that come here as tourists and stuff generally have tattoos. So it's a thing that people in Tokyo are a little bit more tolerant of, I think. And probably in some of the other big cities as well. If you're living in a rural area, I almost guarantee it would draw a lot more attention. Like if I go to an onsen or something and they say no tattoos allowed, I'm comfortable with that because it was my choice to get tattooed, and I'm not in my home country where my choices were made, so I have to accept the way things are here. Thanks for letting me being a part of this.
So that's pretty much it for me and tattoos. It's been a wild, weird adventure to be a tattooed Gaijin in Japan. I will say that treatment has probably been different from it. Do I show them at my job? No, I never show them at my job. Please don't send me another email, comment, question, or anything on do I show my tattoos at my job. You cannot show them at your job. Probably can't do that in America either. Okay, so of course I cover them up. My earrings, some jobs are cool with it. If it's younger kids, they don't really care. If it's junior high school or higher, those kids are not allowed to have earrings, so they ask that I cover up so as not to be an influence towards earrings. My mohawk, no one cares about that. You can get away with quite a bit with hair in Japan. They don't really care how crazy your hair is. I've seen some salarymen with absolute hair metal haircuts, so that's not a big deal here. And that's tattoos in Japan.